Hey guys, this is your girl Megan, aka Trinity. I just wanted to make this video and come on here and just share a little bit about my spiritual awakening journey. I felt led to make this video. It's taken me some time to work up the courage, just because, during a spiritual awakening, if any of you have been through it or read about it or experienced someone else going through it, it is a very vulnerable time. This is my story about how I was put on to the Matrix. Anyway, so my awakening started back in March of 2019. Right after, about a month after I moved back to Las Vegas, Nevada from Kansas City, Kansas. Shout out to my family. I love you guys. Love you. They're always here supporting me. So at that time, I moved back here in February of 2019. At that time, I was working for Ulta Beauty. I was the Clinique counter manager. Super bomb job. Everything was perfect. I was getting paid well. I was getting the hours I needed. The location here was a lot different than it was in Overland Park, Kansas. It was not a very warm welcome there. Like, everybody was kind of stuck up. There was a few employees. There was one manager that was really nice. I wasn't there for very long. I started having very bad anxiety that turned into huge panic attacks where, I can't breathe. I'm about to pass out. All this kind of stuff. It was preventing me from going to work. Most days I didn't even want to get out of bed because I was just afraid, is something going to trigger me and now I can't breathe, or whatever the case may be. If you have anxiety, then you know what you're familiar with that. So I was having really bad anxiety, turned anxiety attacks, and then eventually that turns into depression, and then the whole ball just starts rolling out of control. So I did seek professional counsel. They did put me on medication. I was diagnosed with PTSD. From past childhood traumas and just the BS that I've been through in my life. Everybody's been through some bullshit in their life, okay? Some worse than others, but whatever. Everybody's been through some bullshit. But yeah, that was the diagnosis, PTSD. So I was on 3 different medications. It kind of helped a little bit in the sense of it gave me some security. Okay, there's somebody I'm talking to that understands where I'm coming from. But I noticed around that time, I was starting to detach from people. I really didn't even, maybe it started before then, now that I think about it, because I didn't have any friends, for real. I have friends, but I don't know how to explain it, because I don't want anybody to get, offended, because, I have, former coworkers that I used to work with, at Target and stuff like that, and, we're not best of buds. We don't hang out on a regular basis. Especially now with this situation happening. I heard you can't say the name, so I'm not going to. So please don't get offended. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't have a ton of friends. I don't have a large group of people, and I noticed that it started to get smaller and smaller and smaller the farther I got in my journey. People were falling off left and right. People that I didn't want to fall off. Some people I did, so I was like, bye. But for the most part, it was people that I didn't really want to. Okay, so after the whole therapy situation and all of that, like I said, I noticed myself spending more time alone. I would get up in the morning, I would go on the porch, I would get up early well, for me it was early. I noticed myself getting up at 7. I would just be up. No matter what, my body clock was up. I was well rested. I would grab my journal. I would grab my Bible, because I would spend a lot of time on the balcony, just out there soaking in the sun and just breathing in the air and just, reflecting. So I noticed that I was spending a lot more time by myself. So after I started noticing that, I ran into some conflict with the person I was dating and living with. He ended up, the situation was very complicated. The apartment was, I just don't want to tell people's business. We ended up separating, going our separate ways. I didn't have anywhere anywhere to go because I didn't have any family in Vegas at the time, anyone close. So one of my coworkers, India, shout out to India, I love you, girl. She was pretty much like, you know what, come stay with me for a couple of days until you figure out what you're gonna do. So I did. I ended up staying with her for a month or two, maybe even longer. I'm not sure of the time frame, but I was there for a little bit. And honey, when I tell you the stuff that I went through. See, at this time, I feel like my spiritual awakening journey had got put on the back burner. Not really, but in my eyes, in my human eyes, it got put on the back burner because I was in survival mode. I was like, okay, and this, mind you, this was my first time meeting India because I met her at work, but we work from home. Never met her in person, only seen a photo of her on our workstation, or whatever you want to call it, on camera. So the fact that she stepped out on faith, and I am forever grateful for her, okay? So, but yeah, I ended up staying with her for a little while. I ended up renting a room from this lady that wasn't too far from India, where she lived. And fast forward, I ended up moving out of there. After this breakup I met somebody else, jumped in another relationship. Honey, yes, she did that. She did. Yeah, process that. She did. So I got into another relationship, and wait, here's the kicker. There's more. I moved in with the guy. Or we moved in together, okay? That's a whole nother story too. So we ended up moving into this place. He turned out to be abusive. Anyways, I ended up surviving that situation, thank God. And I ended up moving to another place. So I'm safe. I'm here and I'm whole. So the situationship I was in was getting progressively worse. Me and the situationship ended up calling it quits for good, for real, and we became roommates. So that is when my awakening really started to become apparent to me, because I was now seeing 11:11, I was seeing 10:10, I was seeing 12:12, and when I was embarking on a different spiritual path some time ago, I was always told that 11:11 was like, oh, okay, God's around, he's telling you he loves you, he's telling you you're on your right path. So I didn't think too much of it. Every time I see it, I'll say, oh, I love you too, God. I didn't think anything about it, but I kept seeing it. My ex and I had got back in contact with each other, the one I had broken up with. And somehow the idea of twin flame came into play. Oh, I think I started researching like why a connection could possibly be so strong, because I had heard of the term soulmate but not twin flame. I don't think so, not of yet. So I started researching like twin flames and all that. I came across Tarot Priest here on YouTube. Shout out to her. But anyways, and I started using her pick a card readings as a guide because, okay, so I was a person that thought that tarot was evil, and I understand that it can be, depending on who's using it and you know, their knowledge of it and all that other stuff. I get that. I didn't believe in it before Tarot Priest. Homegirl is on point every time. When I tell you, she is on point every time. She is on point every time. At least she is for me. I started to discover her as well as other tarot readers as well, and not all of them resonated with me, which they're not supposed to. It's a general reading. There were quite a lot of them that resonated with me, just confirming a lot of stuff that I was going through. And that's how I got reintroduced to spiritual awakening. I want to say around November, I started to feel like I needed to be alone, like completely alone. I don't need to be living with anyone. I don't need to be in a relationship. And I mean, I already don't have any friends. Cool. I need to be alone. I just started getting that urgency. So I started making motions to, I started making the motions to do so. So once I was alone, the shit hit the fan, so to speak. You know, it was healing time. So during that time, it was a lot of crying. There was a lot of stuff being purged. So past childhood traumas were being brought up in my memory out of nowhere, and I'd be like, why is this coming up right now?
Like, I forgave that person. I forgave that person. Why is this coming up now? That was spirit like, hell no, girl, you just pushed it down. And so one day, I was sitting in my bed and that happened. A childhood trauma came up, something I thought that I had forgiven someone for and gotten over. And I just cried. I wailed. I cried until I just didn't have any tears left. I let myself feel the emotion. I sat there with it for a minute. I analyzed it in the way that I needed to. And then I just inhaled, exhaled, and released it, And that was the first time that I was introduced to healing and freedom, a little bit of freedom, and I was hooked. And then I just wanted to heal. So since December of 2019 till now, it has been about healing. And I'm still going through a lot of healing. That time in December of 2019 to, I want to say, about March, so just last month, was pretty heavy dealings with my shadow self, and I'm still, like I said, I'm still working on a lot of things. There's still some crying happening. There's still healing going on here. I'm still learning how to keep my energy, my vibrations high so that I can continue to be healthy, And I forgot to mention that too, like my spiritual journey actually started when I decided to take meat out of my diet. And so that was back in February or March. It was back in 2017, so about 3 years ago. And back then I was only eating fish and chicken anyways. I was never really a big, huge, like, red meat eater. I had cut down just to fish and chicken. And then I eventually transitioned into no meat at all. I was still eating shrimp and, like, tilapia and stuff. So yeah, there's still lots of healing going on right now, not just from past childhood trauma, but just from past relationships, things that I've done to myself. I'm trying to forgive myself. So one of the most exciting things that has happened on my spiritual awakening journey is learning how to manifest things. And just looking back in my life, seeing where I have manifested things before, unknowingly. So it's kind of like you gotta watch what the hell you're saying, watch what comes out of those lips. There was just a few things that I had spoken to exist, or I spoke it, and then, a couple weeks later, here they come, entering into my life. People, things, jobs I've manifested. It is just insane, the power that we have. I have been called to share my story in hopes that it'll help one of you. So I don't know whoever needs to hear this, but love on yourself, okay? Because until you learn to love you, you can never truly wholeheartedly love someone else, not even your kids. You'll love them, but you'll never be able to be open and vulnerable with them the way that they need you to be. And if you don't heal yourself from your past traumas, all you're going to do is pass that on to them. Needless to say, it wasn't easy. I think I've been through the hardest part of my awakening, or one of the hardest parts, which is healing. And facing the music, facing my pain. You deserve freedom, and being healed is free. To me, freedom might be some other shit to some other people, but for me, being healed of the shit, that nasty pain and just all the shit that just mucks you up, and like, I have power over my mind. Like, I have power over my emotion. I say how I feel. Try saying that a few times a day if you feel the exact opposite, until you start to mean it, and then continue to say it even after you mean it, and you'll see some shit change. But anyways, that was a little bit of my story. I hope that it made sense. And if you like this video, if you like spiritual awakening, if you like realness as much as I possibly can be, because I mean, this is YouTube. With that being said, I'm going to try to be as candid as I can. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that it helped. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those comments down below.
Be sure to check out my other videos.
Subscribe, like this video. It's free. You ain't doing anything. We all in the damn house. Okay? Thank you so much for watching. Once again, this is your girl Trinity, aka Megan, aka Lashelle MUA, aka Lashelle 2390. However you know me. I'm sending you love, light, and positivity your way. Have a beautiful and blessed day or night.